Hello there, I'm Kevin, aka Toying Around.
I'm Yoko, also known as Live and La Vida Yoko.
Hey, I'm Paulie from Bitter Asian Dude Inc.
I'm Ernie, also known as the one and only Fallen Fett.
We're four friends chatting about our love for Star Wars, toy collecting, and pop culture. You're listening to the Boba Squadron podcast.
Are we going to start?
Yes, this is it.
Do I have time to go to the bathroom?
Oh, come on. I told you to go before we got into the car.
Bladder. Let's go.
Go, just go.
No, I was just kidding. I don't have to go. Hey, everybody who's tuning in out there, listening in podcasting worlds on whatever platform, Audible, Spotify, Apple, whatever.
We're not on Audible.
No, I don't know. I'm making it up. Audible. It sounds like something that you should be listening to podcasts on. Anyways, welcome to episode 6 of Boba Squadron. We're here minus Ernie Villarreal, who is a probationary prospect. He's got better things to do, but joining us here today, we of course have Kevin from Toying Around. We've got Yoko from Living La Vida Yoko, and I am Paul Sun-hyung Lee, welcoming you to this new podcast, episode 6, where we discuss a bunch of nerdy things, including Star Wars, toys, and pop culture. So welcome to our podcast.
Well, this is going to come out Monday, April 25th, which is like a month away from Star Wars Celebration.
Yes.
And that's going to make it very awkward when you, Yoko, and Ernie hang out there when you meet up in person.
I'm actually going to meet up with Ernie in like just over a week from the 25th.
You're doing the May the 4th.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Get me a lightsaber.
Okay.
Ernie's got to get me a lightsaber. I'll pay you back. I want the Cal Kestis lightsaber if they're available.
Yeah.
Because there's no way I'm going to get it otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, get me that lightsaber.
Are those not available on Shop Disney? Because
No.
Other lightsabers are, right?
They've had a couple go up there, but that was during COVID, peak of COVID times when they had just reopened, and I think they were eager to make some dollars. Yeah. So I don't know. Who knows? Like maybe May the 4th they'll put some stuff up again. But no, I was just like, ooh, is that a fun excuse for me to go drive up to Vancouver? If I get you the lightsaber and then I have to drive it up?
Yeah,
visit?
absolutely.
So you're gonna go down to Cali, and then back, and then drive up to Vancouver.
Maybe not immediately, but yeah. Maybe not immediately.
I have a spare bedroom. Spare bedroom. I got a Yoda statue who will stand guard outside of your bedroom. It scared the crap out of my kid. It was like, no, why? Why is he there? It's like, yeah.
It's not an actual bed, though. It's actually a series of Hot Toys boxes with a bed sheet over it. So if anyone looks in like his wife, it's like, oh, it's been cleverly disguised.
No.
That's a great idea.
Full disclosure, the majority of the Hot Toys have been brought back to Toronto. I had 3 suitcases that I brought back on my last visit back home, filled with Hot Toys. I do have 3 more boxes that need to be shipped back. That I'm going to be shipping back, but I am seriously really concerned that I don't have enough space to bring all this stuff back, because West Coast Stash House was packed with some really really cool stuff, and it's one of those things. I actually brought back an extra suitcase that was inside a suitcase, so I did the whole Russian doll nesting thing. And what I didn't realize was the suitcase that I put inside the suitcase had another suitcase in it. So now I have like 4 suitcases. Like, oh God, what have I done? Yeah, so I have, really enough space, but I don't think it's enough.
It's like you got to sneak in one more trip home, huh?
Sorry, Anna.
How long have you been out there, Paul, that you've amassed this collection?
That's none of your business, Kevin. No. I've been out here since January. So January, February, March, April, 4 months. That's enough time. Especially if you're, I have a YouTube channel. I have stuff that I need to unbox. Don't judge me, man. Don't judge me.
I'm not. I do the same thing. I think a major and really interesting part of last week's episode was Paul, the talk about the purge and going through a lot of the stuff that you're getting out of, which organically leads into, hey, what kind of new stuff did we get recently? Because Yoko got some cool stuff, and that led into a conversation of Black Series and certain lines and kind of Marie Kondoing your collection. Does this bring me joy, or am I just holding on to it? But first off, Yoko, what did you get this week?
I had some Black Series pre-orders come in that I think, I don't know, maybe were earlier than expected originally. But I unboxed these and I have reboxed them because I don't have anywhere to display them for now. So I didn't want to lose anything, you know, so I put them back in their boxes. But I got the Mandalorian Ahsoka, which looks amazing. She looks great. And
Is that a deluxe figure? Is that considered a deluxe?
Nope. No, not at this time.
The box looks really wide for whatever reason.
Well, you know, they say the camera adds 10 pounds.
This was not meant to comment on Rosario Dawson's look whatsoever. It looked like a deluxe box online. That's all I'm saying.
Hold on. Let me write down this clickbait title.
Oh, Carl Sun-hyung Lee confirms. Rosario Dawson looked heavy. Stop. Good Lord. The box looked bigger. It looked like a deluxe. I mean, it's been happening.
You're just digging. You just keep digging, Paul. All right. And you got?
This is Echo.
Echo.
I have not opened him yet. He just came today.
Sweet.
I was telling Kevin, I hit the delivery Yahtzee today. I had deliveries from USPS, UPS, FedEx, Amazon, and like a local courier all today.
Nice.
And only one toy. Only one toy in all those packages.
I've never played Yahtzee. Can we just go with like you hit for the cycle? You know, you had one of everything.
I hit
or
the delivery. Yeah.
A grand slam.
I guess I was missing like a DHL in there, but it was like 5 different delivery services. I feel like maybe many times I've hit 4 out of 5, but to hit 5 felt kind of ridiculous.
And then finally,
Omega without a hat.
Does she have a hat?
She does not have a hat. However, she does have a gas mask.
Gas mask. Wow. Yeah.
Paul, how do you feel about these two, or those Echo and Tech?
Well, here's the thing.
Tech and
Omega and Echo.
Echo and Omega.
Echo and Amiga. Yeah, those are the last 2 Black Series that I'm really kind of like, all right, these are the ones I need. Then I finished my Bad Batch collection, like in terms of that, because here's the other story. Because remember, I said because I'm purging my Black Series, I got to make room for all the Hot Toys and like the 1/6 scale vehicles. Really, sorry, Anna. And so all the Black Series stuff that's going out, I was looking at it and went, oh, okay, yeah. And for whatever reason, I had like 2 of each of the Bad Batch, which is fine. But I had like 4 Wreckers. It's like, why do I have 4 of these? And then I realized too, I have 4 Techs because I found another stash of like Black Series figures in a shelf behind all my lightsabers. I was like, what is this? What it? And they were like, so I had like 4 Techs as well. So it's like, okay, kind of went ham on that. And so
I
now
just bought one.
I know. Oh man, I could have given you one for free. So Omega and Eco, and then I've got the Black Series, and it's done, and that's finished. But then there was that discussion that we had last week of like, will you miss it once it's gone? Like you miss it when it's in hand. You look at it and go, oh, I'm gonna miss this. But once it's gone, out of sight, out of mind. And I'm wondering now if it is really prudent then to just sell all my Black Series and just get rid of it. Because there were more figures that I wanted to keep than I wanted to sell. To be honest, there were doubles, there were triples, there were quadruples. I will admit to that. I'm sorry, Anna.
And you start with those though, right? Like
yeah.
You start with...
absolutely. But then there's that little voice in the collector part of me is like, yeah, but you know what? You bought one to open, one to keep, one to sign, one to flip. It's just that stupid mentality where you kind of go, well, I could make money off of this like 20 years down the line. Maybe this will become super rare. And it doesn't. It really doesn't. So that's why I've had this debate. It's like, get rid of them. Just go. And the other thing too is, for the majority of the Black Series figures that I want to keep, they have the Hot Toys versions up, which are far superior, to be honest, just in detail, in all this stuff. So it's like, well, why am I holding on to the 6-inch version of this character when I have the 12-inch? And so I think that's a big thing. So now it becomes a question of, well, how much do I want to get back? How much do I want to recoup this loss? Do I take it to Treehouse Collectibles and just take a percentage back of what I could get? Or do I put in the work and try to, put them up on eBay and try to get at least retail back on these figures, right? And so it's like, what's my time worth? Is it worth it?
Time is worth something,
Yeah. But there's that like greedy, lazy part of me that's like, but you spent this much money on it.
Okay, I'm going to try to help you out here. To me, this is like the one thing I took out of like accounting classes in college was the concept of sunk costs. And like that's money you've already spent, like you don't have that money anymore. You have toys instead. So whatever you get back for those toys is profit.
Okay.
Because the money's already spent. It's already gone, right?
Yeah.
So if time is money, and if you don't want to spend the time dealing with selling things individually and packing them and shipping them and dealing with possible shipping issues and jerks on the other side who try to scam you and stuff like that, like to me, when I sold a huge part of a former collection I had, I went that route, and I had to shops basically take all my collection for 40-50% of the value. They give me a little bit more of a friend deal in this situation. So I think I got 50%, but still, just to be done with it in one step and get it out and get that cash felt great.
Yeah. And I think that's the way to go, really, at the end of the day. Yeah. It's that part, it's human nature, though. It's that little part that goes, well, you should at least get your money back. Right. That, and it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe it's my
sunk
parents,
costs, baby, sunk costs.
Yeah. And then, but then there's that part of me is like, you know what? Just put it in storage. Put it in storage.
Yeah.
Spend that $50 a month or whatever.
Spend more money.
Yeah. Because like, who knows? Maybe in like 20 years. And then you go, okay, 50 times 12 times 20 is how much money? So how much am I going to get back? Because really, the reality is, we look at some of the Kenner, the vintage toys from the 80s, from the 70s, when, and we go, well, it's worth this much now. But the reality is the shit that's being pumped out now, as lovely as it is, really is never going to reach that level of return. Just because it is so mass produced and everybody has it in their mind that if I buy like 5 of these, wreckers, they'll become super rare in 20 years time, and they're not.
Plus there's more people keeping them,
and that's exactly it,
right?
Everybody's trying to cash in on that. So it's like, reality is, and I think for a lot of new collectors, and I think for a lot of collectors now, like even older collectors, is the realization that you're never going to get that vintage Star Wars return.
Yeah.
That tens of thousands of dollars for the Boba Fett that shoots the missile out of his, but you're never going to get that. You're never going to get that $2,000 Jawa figure with the vinyl cape. You're not going to get that. But we hold on to that as collectors for whatever reason because, well, it's possible. But I think you're right. I think the best way to go is, here's a shit ton of my stuff. Go to a collectible store, like a store, and say, what can you give me for this? And if they make profit on it, awesome. But then they have to put in the time to sell that stuff, right?
Yeah. But you don't have to.
I don't have to do that. So it's like, you're right. It's profit. I get 50. And the other benefit is I have more room for my like 1/6 scale stuff. And my wife won't murder me in my sleep.
And I do want to back up. Like, I think that strategy works for someone who is already comfortable, like living comfortably, right? Like if
True
you
enough.
need to sell those
True enough.
toys because you need to pay your bills or something like that, maybe
Yeah.
you go the extra effort to make
Yeah.
every penny you can.
Yeah,
But-
and I will acknowledge it is a champagne
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
I've been very fortunate in my life. Really, TV money helps a lot. Not to say I haven't worked hard for my money and this or that, but there is that whole. I am in a very fortunate situation where it's not like I'm selling it because I can't pay rent or I need to pay mortgage or buy food or whatnot. Like I get that, and I'm not. I never mean to disparage anybody or just like, oh my God, woe is me. I've got all these toys and not enough room. Like,
Right.
I get that. It is a champagne problem. But as a collector too, it's a reality as well. And it's not to say that I don't work. Like, that's the thing. I've never bought stuff at the expense of other things. So like in lieu of rent, I bought 4 records. And we're not going to eat tonight, but I have this stuff that maybe, it's never been like that. It's always been, for me, it's a luxury. And I understand that. Like, being able to afford to buy collectible things is a luxury. But I've also worked very hard to be able to afford that. And so there's that other element of it.
And my comment wasn't directed at you. I just didn't want the wrong person to take my advice.
Oh, no.
No. Cost. Don't worry.
Yeah. And I wasn't thinking that as well. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
that's never how I take it.
Yeah.
But I will, like, I think the acknowledgement has to be there that, like, I'm very fortunate. Like, I went home and I was like, how many fucking Hot Toys do I have? And it was like 1, 2, 3.
When you start doing that math, right? It's
and it's like,
a little frightening.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and there are people who they're like, it's a big deal. It's like, it's a huge deal to invest, to go to 1/6 scale. And you go, that's like a significant amount of money. And it's like, yeah, it is. And I always say this, it's like, Hot Toys, they're expensive. And I know I'm super fortunate to be able to be able to buy it and kind of go, yeah, it's not going to make a dent in, my spending ability. It's like, I'm very fortunate for that. And I try to acknowledge that too. And I don't want to take it for granted. But it's one of those things as well too, though, is like, but I do work really hard. Like, I've worked 16, 17, 18-hour days. I'm spending months away from my family. I'm doing all these things. And part of it is I want to be able to enjoy the fruits of my labor. And part of that is, I'll get that Hot Toy. And maybe I'll pre-order it like 3 times by accident. But I don't mean
we need you to not do that with Hot Toys.
Yeah.
Well, I think in some of our positions and a lot of collectors, space, where to put your stuff, is a hot commodity, where you might take selling something for, like you said, 40%. You're still getting cash back, but you're clearing that space. And sometimes that might be worth it for the extra, however, percentage or the amount of effort that you put in. If you're like me and you're going to suffocate in boxes and drown in here, it's more pertinent and time sensitive to get stuff out and just get that money, and you can go enjoy some other stuff.
When did you want to become an actor then?
Well, I never really did. It was so funny. It was just like I fell into it ass backwards. Like, and it's funny because I was talking to Ken Lung today about that. And it was just like, through high school and stuff, like, my parents never let me take any like drama classes, no acting, none of this. And so it was just not something that was possible. It was Asian parents. You could be 4 things in life: doctor, lawyer, teacher, engineer, or a failure. You choose, right? And so it wasn't a university, and I took it on a lark because it was just like, all right, what is it? Drama program. That sounds like fun. And so I auditioned for it, and I got into the program, and then I fell in love with the craft of acting. And for me, it was just intoxicating because I had no idea that acting was a craft. It's just, somebody with a huge dick just drove by. Did you hear that?
I totally
I
did
heard
that.
it.
Such a big dick. Wow. I wish my penis was that big. So it really was that whole idea of when you discover a new world and it's something that you're really suddenly you're passionate about. And like I invest, like when, I bought into it 100%, wanted to learn the craft of acting, loved it, and was so naive about the situation, like the working conditions around that, because it was something that I thought acting is way more than I thought it was. And I love what I'm learning, and I'm passionate about it, and I'm excited about it, and I want to invest my time in it. I want to do this as a living. And you don't realize the whole fact that when you're at school, everything is hyper idealized. Everybody gets cast in something, you all get a part and this and that. And yeah, you have certain people who are like, they're earmarked as the ingenue or the leading men, and stuff is kind of catered to them because they will be the stars of the future. But you love it, and then you get onto the real world and you're like, I'm not allowed to audition for this because of the color of my skin? Really? Oh, okay. And then you find out like, oh, the shit that you're allowed to audition for is like really like, oh, these aren't really characters, they're caricatures. This is not like a person with an actual backstory. This serves to prop up the narrative for these other characters. And when you're relegated to that time after time after time, it becomes a little frustrating. But like I said, I was always too stubborn and too stupid to quit. And I loved acting. So I kept going at it, right? And so it was just like my big skill set was exposition. I was very good at exposition. A lot of times writers would kind of go, oh, shit, we need a way to explain all this stuff. In a really quick way, because we didn't write it. So like they'll come up with a character who comes in, barfs out all this background information, and then leaves. And that was me. You look at my CV, that's all I fucking played with, like doctors, lawyers, guys that came in, scientists, guys that came in, like set up the rest of what was going on, and then we're gone. And then Kim's Convenience came along. I got really lucky. And, things have turned the corner. And then this huge wave of the Asian wave. Kim's Convenience was there. There's Fresh Off the Boat, and then Crazy Rich Asians, and then all of a sudden became in vogue. It's like, oh my God, Asians can act. And like the reality was, Asian-led projects could make money, and that's really what it was. It's altruistic.
American money.
Yeah. That as soon as that happened, they're like, oh, it's profitable. Oh, suddenly it was like, oh, let's be diverse. Let's be this, let's be that. And hey, you know what? At the end of the day, I go, it doesn't matter how it happens. It's like, what do you do with that opportunity once it does happen? How do you take something that's trendy and turn it into a movement? And you do excellent work. And that's the thing. And I think now it's become more than just Crazy Rich Asians. It really is. There's undeniable talent that is out there. And you look at that talent, you kind of go, suddenly it's like, oh, okay. Like all of a sudden it's like Sandra Oh, yeah, she was always huge, always. But now it's like she gets a leading role in Killing Eve. And it's like, oh my God, she's so talented. It's like, yo, fuck yeah, of course she is. Of course she's talented. She's been doing this for decades. And all these other people. And then finally, like a community finding their voice and people being able to do things and carry that narrative. Wow, that's a golden age. That's the golden age. So all that sort of stemmed from, just really, and I've been lucky to be on that wave, to ride that crest, and to help prop open a few doors, I'd like to think. But I've been very fortunate. And I've benefited from my stubbornness and stupidity. And the fact I just never gave up. No, seriously. Yeah. If you were to pick from my class, acting class, first year acting class, university, I guarantee you, nobody would have picked me to still be working all these years later. And really? Here I am. So I take that with me. I carry that with me. And so I never take it for granted when I get to do Star Wars, when I get to be on Avatar, when I get to do all these different things, be on this podcast, asked to be guests on different things, to go to cons.
That's all. But why weren't you in Crazy Rich Asians, Paul?
I think Kim's convenient.
Isn't that like the question that so many Asian actors get? Like, why weren't you in
No.
Crazy Rich Asians?
I was doing Kim's convenience. We were already trailblazing when they came and hopped on our coattails.
I was trying to be a troll. I'm sorry.
Paul Sun-hyung Lee confirms Crazy Rich Asians rode on our coattails.
Kim's convenience did it first. And now you're on a podcast. You're very fortunate. You can cut people and fire them. I made it.
I saw the Batman finally.
I haven't yet.
Matt Reeves version. This is DC Universe. Anybody watch Batman? Anybody a fan of the Batman?
I
watched another Star Trek situation where it's like
I watched it. I love Batman.
No. I haven't watched it yet, but I plan to.
Okay. Did you see it, Kevin?
Yeah, I watched it in theater, and I know it's on Crave right now.
It's on Crave. Yeah, that's what I downloaded it, watched it on the flight over, tried to watch it. 3 different time zones. Still had to watch it, pick up the end of it while I was in Vancouver. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's great.
Really loved it. Loved it because it was not another freaking origin story.
Mm-hmm.
It was a throwback to the comic book series, which I love. A lot of heavy influences from Batman Year One, which I adored. A lot of Frank Miller influences. I thought the performances were great. Robert Pattinson, I thought was fantastic as a Batman. I think anybody who's all hung up because he was freaking Edward on Twilight should fucking honestly get
if
over
you watch
that.
him in anything else, you could see what a talented actor is.
He's spectacular, and anybody who still holds it against him for Twilight should grow up. Honestly, grow up. That was 20 years ago almost.
Shoot, don't say that.
Hey, truth hurts, but it's you got to let that shit go. You're honestly putting him in a box for something it's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. People who still hold that against him is grow up is what I want to say. But love the sound, the musical element of Michael Giacchino. Is that how you pronounce the name? Giacchino. He did the sound.
It sounds right.
For Lost, for Star Trek, for Star Wars. Love his work as a composer. I thought nailed it. So many elements of that I really, really absolutely thought was fun. And I'm not a huge Batman fan. I'm not. And so I really, really find myself enjoying that, the movie, because it was something that we haven't seen. It wasn't just Batman beating the shit out of guys for the entire movie. It was, he was solving a mystery. He wasn't completely reactionary like a lot of these movies are, and it was really, really cool to see a different take on the Batman again. So I enjoyed it.
Did you play the Arkham video games?
I did not.
Okay. It was kind of like all of the cinematics of the video game, because in the game he would go. When you go through the story, he'd find clues and solve things more very detective focused, which this movie, like you said, it's very different in that way. And it's kind of like watching the game, but there's some, it is 3 hours, but
I didn't feel that.
No.
Even though I suggested that I watched it over 3 time zones and had to pick it up the next day, but I still was so engaged with it. And I honestly didn't start it because I was it's 3 hours. I've got some time. It's like a 4.5 hour flight from Toronto to Vancouver. I've got time and this and that. And I didn't start it till later. But it was one of those movies where I thought, I want to keep watching it. But now I'm exhausted because I did all this time. And it wasn't because of the movie. It was because physically I was exhausted. Right. So watching it again, and I want to watch it again. And I think it was an enjoyable experience. It was really cool. And I've had, you don't have that often. When you have a 3 hour movie where you kind of go, yeah, you know what? I think I'll watch that again. That says a lot.
Especially for a character who's had 10 movies.
Yeah. Oh God.
And no shortage of comic books, animated movies, things like that. TV shows. It's the fact that they were able to make it still different and
Yeah.
stand out
Yeah.
for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I think it's quite a feat.
Well, I think the fact that you have such an iconic character and you haven't really, like, you still have difficulty portraying him in that way. And I say that, you know, knowing full well you have the Tim Burton Batman, you have the Christopher Nolan Batman, you got the Ben Affleck Batman, and then you have the Matt Reeves version of it. And each iteration of that Batman is so completely different. I think is great. But I'm just so happy, again, and I said this before, it's not an origin story.
No.
Because it felt like in almost every one of those, it was an origin story. But this was the first time he was the world's finest detective. And we never had that.
Mhm.
You know, it's like, you know, when you look at Spider-Man, you go, oh God, how many times do I need to see Uncle Ben get shot?
Yeah, these are the characters
You
where
know.
you know it
Yeah.
now.
Right? So it's like, let's move on. But it did have that Frank Miller quality of Batman Year One. He's established himself. He's out there. He's doing this. Like the first scene where the Batmobile fires up. Sorry, Yoko, I'm totally spoiling this music for you.
I think you've been very vague and
Yeah.
not specific with
Yeah.
plot points.
And probably not just for me. It just hit HBO Max here this week.
Yeah.
But I'm not too concerned, but I'm not too concerned for myself. I
Yeah.
am concerned if
For
anyone
everybody
else is listening.
Okay, listener, skip ahead to
Skip ahead. But so there's that. And then
So if I have 3 hours, am I watching the Batman or am I watching the Scarface?
Ooh.
Although, because right now I'm really deep in my partial Phase 4 MCU rewatch leading up to Multiverse of Madness.
I'm
oh,
afraid
you're rewatching. Oh, good for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yoko, have you seen
Yes.
89 Batman?
I've seen all the Batman multiple
Okay.
times. I've
Just
even
making
read some Batman comics. Thank you very much.
That sounded pretty judgy, Kevin, considering you.
What do you mean?
The guy who's never seen Gremlins, Ghostbusters.
I've seen.
You've seen
okay.
him now.
Okay, so
Let's talk
I
about
was
this.
looking-
Let's talk about it. You finally saw Gremlins, and well, before we even do that, you couldn't find an English version of Gremlins.
Yeah.
You saw Ghostbusters, which for me and Ernie and Yoko, we were like, "What the fuck?" Like, honestly, you hadn't even seen the Ghostbusters?
So I've seen. It's another one of those where I've seen parts
Bits
of it, and then I know I've seen Ghostbusters too, because that painting scared the crap out of me as a kid, and you know the under sewer flowing
with
stuff.
the slime.
Yeah. And then
weren't you the one that made that comment of, wouldn't it be weird if I just saw Alien 3 without seeing it as 1, 2, and this and that? Like, you made this point of.
He did say that.
Yeah.
He did say that.
There's no need to dwell on these things.
And yet you saw Ghostbusters 2 without watching Ghostbusters.
I was a child. I had no control over these things.
A child. That was a Ghostbusters 2 reference.
That was very funny. So you saw the Ghostbusters.
So I watched Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So
And
for whatever reason, I'm looking for Gremlins on all the streaming platforms that are available to me. Amazon.
It was on HBO out here.
We don't have HBO
down
out
here.
here, down here, up there. Nothing on Prime, nothing on Netflix, nothing on Crave, which is a Canadian mix of everything. They had a French version, which was obscene. Like it's French audio and not even English subtitles. They only had the French subtitles. So thank
This
you.
is a
Quebec.
bilingual country, Kevin. You are
So give me both options.
Of
Give me both options.
Viewers or listeners. That's it.
Mm.
This is the reason why this podcast tanks in Quebec.
I'll check our stats on
Zut alors, la fromage vert.
So for whatever reason in that process, when I search Gremlins in Netflix, it suggests, I guess, similar themes or movies from the same era, whatever. Ghostbusters came up. All right, so
okay.
Gremlins, please.
Gremlins.
Please,
Let's talk about
I'm begging
Gremlins.
you.
So you finally saw Gremlins. You found an English version of Gremlins. Finally, like how did you
never occurred
find
to
it?
me. It never occurred to me that you could pay to rent a movie digitally. To me, it's like, yo, if it's not on streaming, that's it. There's no other option. I'm already paying for all
Such
these
a
things.
millennial.
Yeah.
You're such a millennial.
I've been to Blockbuster, so I don't know why that whole concept escaped me. So, I found it, I watched it today, and I realized, you really love movies with nasty, weird eggs popping out, gross, mucousy creatures, and that like to eat people. Yeah, I mean, look at the streak that you recommended so far: The Thing, Alien, Gremlins.
There were no eggs in The Thing, you big wuss.
No, Kev, aliens.
They were just coming out of humans. They were
Alien
mangled.
totally confused me about Gremlins too. I keep thinking it's Gremlin and Gremlins now too.
Yeah, that whole naming convention.
I know that this is a confusing thing to watch back to back.
Now Paul's angry.
You know what? Okay, Paul. So I actually rewatched Gremlins.
Okay.
And most of the second half didn't seem familiar to me at all. So I'm like, did I not watch all of it?
Maybe you didn't.
But because I remembered the beginning. I remembered the beginning up until like when they started, when the Gremlins started, when the bad ones started popping up. I kind of remembered up to that point, and then a lot of the rising action part, like I don't really, I was like, I feel like I've never seen this part before. But then the ending I had seen. So I'm like, maybe I fell asleep in the middle. I don't know.
Maybe you did.
I've definitely seen Gremlins 2 though. I know that.
Yes. Well, Gremlins 2 it's so different.
Yeah.
From the first one, right? The first one was very like Gremlins 2 was the Gremlins took the spotlight.
Yeah.
In terms of
more hijinks.
Yeah. And they really found that, and they found that audiences really loved, in Gremlins, the first movie, it was like that whole movie theater scene, or when they were in Dory's bar, where they were all like, they're acting like the basest sort of bits of humanity. They found it hilarious, right? It's like, oh my God, these creepy little creatures, and that one's cheating at poker, and he just got shot because he was cheating. Mm-hmm. And there's one that was a flasher, and all these different things. You kind of go, okay. And for Gremlins 2, they really did, they expanded on that like exponentially. Mm-hmm. But the first Gremlins, in terms of setting up that protagonist and the antagonist, because you had Gizmo, who was that wise Mogwai, who was very much, he knew nothing good was going to come from it. And then there was there was Stripe, who had the mohawk, and they very definitely set that up as like, this is the asshole Mogwai who becomes the Gremlin, and this and that. But it was like the storytelling, I thought, was a lot of fun. Again, you were talking about, Kevin, Billy's mom going all ham.
There is.
She was like, "You're not gonna mess with me," and I love that.
There is a backstory there that needs to be explored. She's got to be like a secret agent, or she's in witness protection, because once they hatch, it gets. They show her looking up to the attic. There's a lot of noise, and her first instinct is to pick up this giant knife, which I don't know why she had when she was making
2 knives.
No, the first was one knife, which I don't know why she needed for gingerbread cookies when she was decorating them, but sure. And then her instinct is just kill. She murks the first one in the blender, and then turns around, stabs. She's the Punisher. She's basically the Punisher. Stabs the other one, microwaves the third one. Who thinks of this?
I like this theory that she's
80s
a
mom.
former.
But you're right. I mean, Billy's mom. That's an 80s mom right there. She knows nothing. She's seen the eggs. She knows how nasty it is.
Yeah, she was cool
with those things. Like, are you honestly gonna go, oh, let's be friends? No, these things are nasty. Like, and you see that creepy, scaly thing inside. Yeah, you turn that blender on. That one gremlin like scratched her and was like throwing knives and shit at her. Plates. Yeah, you stab that mofo, right? You're the one in the microwave. Yeah, you blow that asshole up. That's what you do. You're in my house. And that's what I love. She was like, you're in my house. This is she's not gonna take any guff.
But I love the contrast. The contrast to that was back at the bar. Is it Kate?
Yes.
She's not really that scared of what's going on. In fact, she's acting like it's a really busy normal bar night. She's busting her ass to get them more drinks, top up their drinks and get them more stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, this is just not off-putting to her. She's just this is really busy tonight.
I think absolutely it's off-putting, but like there's so many of them there. What's she gonna do?
She's like trying to keep them happy, right?
Yeah, she's in like total defensive mode. It's like I will keep like this keeps you from killing me. Absolutely. Get them drunk. But when she figures out a way to like freak them out with the Polaroid camera, she uses it to her advantage, right?
Yeah.
So really, it's about her adapting and surviving in the in that environment. So I don't know what your beef is, Kevin.
Yeah, so you didn't really like it? You didn't really like Gremlins?
It was entertaining, but I couldn't figure out what it was supposed to be, like what type of movie. But then I didn't want to watch it and be like, oh, it has to be this genre. So I'm watching like, what is the target here? Are we meant to laugh or be scared or both? It was just but it was entertaining. But I also questioned Paul and his fetish for weird slimy eggs.
What how do you categorize that movie? What do you call it?
It's a horror comedy.
Is it a horror comedy? Oh. Yeah. But it's also a Christmas movie.
Yeah, sure. It can be all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I didn't want to put it in a box.
Horror comedy set during Christmas.
Yeah.
And Kevin, I'm sorry you're so dead inside that you can't figure out should I be scared or should I be laughing? I'm sorry that you were so dead inside you can't.
No, that's the thing. There's too many emotions going on that I didn't know.
All the feels from an 80s movie. I need that monochromatic, the Batman. He is detective.
Yeah. What am I watching?
Joyless.
It didn't make you want a little gizmo of your own?
No, and I think that's what I'm gonna rate movies on from now on is, do I want toys? Because a lot of this stuff, coming from this era, there's a lot of nostalgia and a lot of fan bases over the years, right? So there's definitely going to be merchandise and toys, and us being collectors, and the point of this podcast mostly, I'd be like, do I want toys of this? After watching Aliens, I bought some Super 7 reaction stuff. So that's going to be one of my, is it toy worthy?
I think so.
Is it shelf worthy?
NECA's come out with some really great sculpts. I actually have a couple of them for the Gremlins. The Gremlins out there.
Get it right, Paul.
You've got this, the Gizmo, not Gizmo, Stripe. That version of the transformed Gremlin.
There's a flasher.
There is a flasher. Yeah.
Which is great. So like I have them, but maybe it is one of those nostalgia. Is it in that wheelhouse? I mean, there's certain movies that people grew up watching and they went, oh my God, this is so brilliant. Like Grease. I saw Grease. Everyone's like or even Dirty Dancing. And it's like, yeah, I never really watched it during that era where it was big. Patrick Swayze was big. You watch it now and you're like, I don't get it. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Cool.
What emotion?
But if you grow up with it, it becomes one of those core memory things. You go, oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody puts baby in a corner. And it's just like, maybe for Gremlins, that's what it is. I myself had a huge crush on Phoebe Cates. I thought, oh my God, like I loved her. Like I had a huge crush on her. And so it's like, you see that and it's like, yeah.
From Gremlins or from Fast Times?
From Gremlins.
Really?
I saw
Okay.
Fast Times because I didn't even realize she was in Fast Times till afterwards. And then it was just like, oh my God, I got to see her boobs. Like it's like that weird thing, right? But it felt wrong. But
wait, what? Is this a science folder thing?
It's a science folder thing.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen the music video for Stacy's mom, Kev?
Yeah.
Okay. That's basically Fast Times.
Oh, okay. Adding to the science folder.
For Gremlins, what I loved about it too was the fact that it was that sort of mash up of horror comedy, much like Ghostbusters, which you saw. Now, were you confused as well whether you should laugh at Ghostbusters or be scared at Ghostbusters? Or because that was pretty much in the same vein, I think.
I think that that meter was very much in the comedy zone. And
Really?
the ghosts were more, it's just the vessel. It wasn't meant to lean on the horror parts for me.
Like, I can watch Gremlins and Ghostbusters by myself at night with the lights off.
Yeah.
That's my judge.
Yeah. Kevin.
Paul, you're a huge Simpsons fan. Before we move on from Gremlins, you're a huge Simpsons fan. You know the scene when Homer goes and gets the Krusty doll from one of the Treehouse episodes.
Yeah.
And then there's like the ancient mysterious Asian dude selling stuff. Is that what this is based off of?
Yes, that guy is totally like, but it is made with sodium bicarbonate. That's bad, right? Like that whole thing where he's talking about. Absolutely, that was Key Luke, who played, the in Gremlins, the original owner of the Mogwai. Yes, the Simpsons were parodying that entire bit right there because it had a curse. It's like, you are not ready for this. You have to, and it was the grandson that sold the Mogwai to Billy, right? So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if the Simpsons wants to parody it, especially earlier Simpsons, then it's gold.
It's good, yeah.
Right, and that's my barometer right there.
And to me, I saw them. They were like in Chinatown, the very opening scene, and I'm just waiting for them to speak, and I'm like, oh, they didn't make them, given that it was in the past and I've never seen this, like, however many years ago, I'm like, oh, they didn't have an accent or anything. I figured like they would have an Asian character. I thought he'd be more closer to the Simpsons shopkeeper guy that we were just talking about. But I'm like, oh, this is great. The grandson.
Did you expect the grandson to have an accent?
Yeah, I expected all of them to.
Really?
Yeah, it's like an old movie.
Just
I didn't
know. Based
I just
on,
expected it.
Yeah.
An old. This kills me. It's a movie from the 80s. It's an old movie. Movie. You know what? It is. It is.
Remember that really old movie, Aliens?
But Kevin, this isn't like the 1940s where it's like a Charlie Chan, where they have some white dude in yellow face going, "Oh, very good for you." Like, no, I mean,
good.
Of
I'm
course,
glad.
this kid wasn't going to have an accent. He grew up in America.
I feel like I watched the opening of Gremlins 2 just to remember how that one started. Again, why is that so funny to you?
Because you're always talking about Gremlins 2 whenever
no, this is relevant because then they kind of make fun of those tropes. So because I forget, he says old man says something, and he's like, "Oh, where'd you get that from? Confucius or Bruce Lee?" So it's like they kind of are like aware and making fun of that, right?
And that's the beauty of Gremlins 2 is they take those tropes. It's like the whole Phoebe Cates thing. In Gremlins, she talks about why she doesn't like Christmas.
Right.
And she's got that story about her dad going down and breaking his neck, and they think the cat died, and they pull her dad out of the fucking chimney. And in Gremlins 2, they totally flip that and make fun of it. She goes, "Oh, I didn't," and she has this other like really sort of overly earnest monologue, and they go, "Yeah, okay," and they make fun of that, and that's the thing that I loved about Gremlins 2 is it's so self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
Like they know, okay, we're not going to give you more of the same. We're actually going to take what was really sort of like moving or like sort of groundbreaking. Not even groundbreaking. It's like against the norm of the first movie, and we're gonna flip it and kind of go, yeah, we totally understand how schlocky this was. Now we're gonna play this up. So it's more of a parody. The second movie, and that's what I loved about it, is the fact that they were so self-aware in the second movie, and they knew it wasn't more of the same old, which I appreciated as a fan, because it's like, how many iterations of a movie do you need to see where the formula is exactly the same, the characters are exactly the same? I love that self-awareness. And I think that's what keeps stuff fresh. And Gremlins 2, I mean, that's the thing. They only made 2 of those movies.
But there's a prequel coming.
Is there really?
Yeah. I was like, wait. I just Googled it because I thought I remembered reading that.
Is The
It just
Rock
hit me.
starring in it?
It's
Oh, God.
no, it's animated.
Okay.
It's gonna be on HBO Max in the US. It's set in 1920s Shanghai.
1920s.
Secrets of the Mogwai will tell the story of how 10-year-old Sam Wing met
Oh.
Gizmo.
I was gonna
Huh.
in my head. I was thinking Legend of the Mogwai. So close, so close. Secrets of the Mogwai.
Yeah, because it'll air on Cartoon Network.
Nice.
I'll watch that. That's
I'll
cool.
watch that too.
I want to see some 1920s Shanghai.
Ming-Na Wen's in it. Her voice
Her
is
voice.
in it. Her voice is in it.
Also, Howie Mandel was he Gizmo?
Was
in
he?
Gremlins? Yeah, he's in the credits as a gremlin. You're Googling Yoko. I'll just edit this part out anyway.
Yeah, he was Gizmo.
Bye, Billy.
Do I know any? James Hong is in it too.
Yeah, James Hong. He played the
He's the old guy, right?
No, Key Luke was the old guy.
No, I mean, like that's what he plays these days is the old guy.
Right.
He's Grandpa Wing in this in the spinoff in the.
He's
prequel.
in like 100 movies, like hundreds of movies, right? He's like the
He's
Asian...
in Big Trouble, the other one that he's in a bunch of other movies that
he's Lopan in Big Trouble in Little China. Shut up, Mr. Burton. You will not put on this earth to get it. He's great.
That's pretty good.
Is he just Asian Sam Jackson? Like he's just been in the industry
yeah,
forever?
No, man. He's like freaking
hundreds of movies.
Asian Hollywood royalty.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that comparison though. 93 years old.
Yeah.
I just know him from Wayne's World. That's him, right?
As Tia Carrere's dad?
Yeah. And wasn't part of him like dubbed? Like, didn't they do subtitles at one point? Yeah. Paul, you mentioned your incredible crush on Phoebe Cates while you were in this movie. And then I told you watching Ghostbusters right after Alien. I'm like, man, I think I have a small crush on Sigourney Weaver. Just 30 years too late.
No, I mean, Sigourney Weaver, good Lord. She's still absolutely gobsmackingly gorgeous. And talented and like a super actor. And it's incredible. Like you see her, and she was iconic in all these movies, like Alien, Ghostbusters, like you said, right? And no, I don't blame you. Yeah, why not? It's like only with Grace Kelly. It's like you look at it and go, oh my God. The body of work and the level of talent. And you when you see them, that's the other thing. You see them captured in time in these films. And you're like, yeah, how could you not fall in love with her or have a crush on her?
So, yeah, I felt kind of bad.
Plus she's such a badass.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Strong. Absolutely. Yeah, strong, really intelligent. I mean, there's so many fantastic qualities. So I'm sorry. I mean, that was a given. For Sigourney Weaver, when I think of her, it's always she's always been like such a strong like heroic heroine type thing. Just like somebody who's never been a damsel in distress. And that's what I love about her is just the strength of character. And she's absolutely like super sexy and just like super smart. And there's all these great qualities where it's like, yeah, damn, like I'd be looking for Sigourney Weaver to protect me. I don't need to rush in to help her. It's just like, I need help. Sigourney, where are you? Like, fuck. Right? So sweep me off my feet type of thing.
Save us, Sigourney.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rick Moranis was awesome too in Ghostbusters. His character was hilarious.
Originally, you know who it was supposed to be? John Candy. It was supposed to be John Candy, and they were like, no, because he had a lot of weird ideas. He wanted his character. He wanted Louis Tully to speak with a German accent and have two little dogs. And they're like, maybe we'll move on. Hey, Rick, what are you doing? Same thing. Ernie Hudson, who played Winston Zeddemore, that part was supposed to be for Eddie Murphy, and it was a much bigger part in the original, and they whittled that part down. Really,
Yeah, because he just showed up and he's like, I just want work.
Well, he was originally supposed to be ex-military, and he had a much bigger part in it. And then, just because Eddie Murphy was busy shooting like Beverly Hills Cop and becoming a mega movie star, so they lost him to that. And Slimer was based on John Belushi.
I met Ernie Hudson at a con, and I was like in line with my friend who wanted to get a photo and autograph from him, and I was just there in line. And when it was our turn, or it was my friend's turn in line, really, he looks at me and he was like, "Hey there!" Well, it was like the warmest smile, and he's like, come here," and he gives me this huge hug. It was like such a warm, welcoming thing that I was like, my first instinct was like, "Wait, do I know him?" Like, like it was like a greeting you would give a friend, like someone that you know. And I was like seriously, my brain got so confused where I was like, I must know this man from somewhere in my life, and I can't remember how I know him. Like, so, that's what I always think of. And I was like, how amazing that interaction. Like, I wasn't even the one waiting in line to meet him, I was just kind of there. And it was like that. And like, that's how he was with everyone. It wasn't just me, I realized as I watched him with the next people.
Oh,
but in that moment where I was like, wait, do I know this guy from somewhere? Actually, is he my dad's friend? Like,
oh, I thought you were going to say, is he my dad? Is he my dad's friend? How's his handshake?
I don't even know if I shook his hand. I got a great hug though. A 10 out of 10 hug.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Confirmed. Yoko McCann confirms. Ernie Hudson, 10 out of 10 hugs.
Yeah.
Is he my dad's friend? I did feel bad though watching this and watching Ghostbusters, and then Ghostbuster, because Ghostbusters 2 is with the S. But as I'm watching it and realizing more and more that I haven't seen it in its entirety, I'm like, do I even tell them? And I made the mistake of letting you all know. And of course, Yoko decides to broadcast it to her Twitch stream. Like,
oh yeah,
I
did.
Know the context.
You did.
I don't remember. It came up somehow. I can't remember.
I mean,
and I was like, guys, I just found out Kevin's never seen Ghostbusters.
That doesn't sound like it just came up organically.
Yeah, maybe it didn't. I don't remember, honestly.
Absolutely not. But it's one of those things. I know the major plot points and imagery, the characters. It's just, I'm sorry. I had some toys.
I have to admit, man, pretty disappointed. I was pretty disappointed. Like, really?
I'm a work in progress.
You do stuff where it's like pop culture related, and you haven't seen Ghostbusters?
Like, you just slid it into conversation so casually, too. Yeah.
But I never talk about that stuff. There's new product reveals. I'm not out there talking out of my ass. Like,
I feel like we have talked about Ghostbusters. Whether live or not live, Ghostbusters has come up every now and then.
She speaks the truth.
There are plot points where I do know. So it's just I haven't seen it.
Did you see Afterlife?
No,
because that would be weird.
Watch Afterlife.
But you should watch it now. Yeah,
watch Afterlife.
I will. I intend to.
I'm curious to see how that would stand up, because I know for Afterlife, for me, the nostalgia factor was huge in it. The vibe of the movie, because I love the original Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. I liked the 2016 reboot. I did. I really did. I didn't have a problem with that version of it. And I don't like all the misogyny and all the butthurt fanboys going, yeah, it wasn't the Ghostbusters. It's like, fuck, come on. I still enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And so it would be interesting to see what your take on Afterlife would be.
Okay.
Having just recently seen Ghostbusters. And if it really was just for me, like a nostalgia trip.
Right.
Down going, oh my God, maybe it was just because I thought for me, it hit all those notes. I cried during that movie. I cried during I did a reaction video of the trailer. I cried during that. And it was just like, so I'm curious to see what somebody who's just recently watched it for the first time
Mhm.
and has a, what your reaction to it would be. So I think that'd be a really cool thing to just sort of to discuss how much nostalgia really sort of lends itself into these movies. Because Gremlins, for me, that's a nostalgia thing. You were like, meh. Which is valid. I think, no, honestly, it's valid because I get it. Same thing for me for like, Dirty Dancing or friggin' Grease, for all these movies where it was like, oh, it's like I watched them later. I'm like, nah. And do you need to be part of that like generational wave when it first came out to really be affected? Is it just a nostalgia kick, or are these really good movies? And I think that's an interesting question. Was Gremlins a good movie? Did you think it was a good movie at the end?
Damn, that's a good. It's such a simple question, but it's tough. Yeah. There were parts of it that were entertaining, but I don't know if I would.
It's such a hard question in general, though. Like, like
everyone's gonna.
What does good mean? What?
Yeah, no, and
did you? Yeah.
Like, in your opinion, was it a good movie? Did you enjoy it more than you didn't? Were there parts of it where you were like, oh my God, this is like, were you affected or not? I mean, and that's the thing. And it's going to be deeply personal for a lot of people. I mean, the thing, I was like, oh my God, how could you not? And you were like affected by that movie.
Yeah.
And I love that. You're like, this is fucked up. Like, all the text and stuff coming out, right?
Right.
I love that. I loved seeing the visceral reaction you had to this movie. Like, I love that. I think it was great. And that was the thing. And so for Alien, it was like, it didn't register with you the same way. And I love that. Like, and that's part of it. It's just like watching people's reaction to it. It's not like, oh my God, you didn't love it? Fuck you. Come on.
That's what the internet. That's what the internet is for.
I know, exactly, right? And that's the thing. But the joy for me is sharing these and saying, you need to watch these. Tell me what you think. And if it doesn't hit you on a certain level, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Like, it shouldn't be like, well, fucking Kevin's an idiot because he didn't like. It's none of that. It should never be that.
Well, not for this reason.
You are.
No, he's only an idiot for not watching
it. There it is.
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's why it's like, for me, that's the interesting thing about fandom. It's never so cut and dry. It shouldn't be. It really is about what connections you make for it. It's about sharing these experiences, hoping that the other person who's watching it has that same reaction to it. But it's not going to happen all the time. If it does happen, that's awesome. If it doesn't, that's not. It's never going to affect my own experience with that film, my relationship with these things. It shouldn't never be. But for fandom, for me, it's like, hey, I love this movie when I was a kid. I still love it. You haven't seen it? Check it out. Check it out. And if you don't connect it with it that way, that's cool too, because that's still a fun conversation to have.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. That's what fandom, the most positive parts of fandom should be. Sharing these things and discussing whether you liked it, whether you didn't, and having fun with it. That's it. But we've become so binary sometimes, I think, nowadays with the internet. Like you said, Yoko, it's like, that's what the internet's for. Call you an idiot if you didn't like it. It's like, fuck. And I think that's part of the problem. It's just like, holy shit. Like, you're allowed to not like Gremlins. You are, right? You're allowed to not feel that connection with certain things. And that's a personal experience. We should never feel beholden to like something because everybody else likes it. Like, honestly, if you have good criticisms, if you have certain things salient points that you can bring up to say, didn't connect. Awesome. Let's talk about that. That's fun to talk about. That really is much more fun than you liked it. You liked it too. It's like, and then you fucking go off. It's like, come on. Right? Like,
the point you mentioned about Afterlife, I kind of felt the same way coming out of Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh,
was it a good movie, or was I just very
Mhm.
emotional coming out of there, seeing characters that I've known for so long.
Yeah.
And I was with my friend Jason, and he was with his son, and I wondered the same thing. If his son didn't grow up on those Spider-Men like I did,
Mhm.
was this movie good? Or was he just like, oh, who are these? Oh, these are just other Spider-Men.
Yeah.
It's not a Spider-Man that we've seen saving MJ and watching Gwen Stacy die and go through that. Was
Yeah.
it still good for this person? And I have to imagine if watching Andrew Garfield act in No Way Home, it's like, please tell me it's still good and it stands on its own accord, that
Mhm.
it's not just nostalgia. So
But you know what? And part of that journey of nostalgia is as well understanding the context in which these characters play, right? So, like you're saying, Kevin, with Spider-Man, if they haven't watched the Andrew Garfield, if they haven't watched the Tobey Maguire, chances are they won't get a lot of the references or the understand the emotionality of, spoiler alert, Andrew Garfield saving MJ. And that moment, like, I almost burst into tears.
I
'Cause he's
get like you're just talking about it gives me goosebumps.
Yeah,
I did
right?
Thinking
both
about that
times.
moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
him saying, like, and her looking at him going, "Are you okay?" And, like, seeing him, like, I'm getting emotional thinking about that right now, and it's just
Yeah.
like, because you know the context behind that.
Yeah.
If you're a kid who's never seen that, you're like, "What? What's up with him?" Like, that's a moment that just goes by. And so that's when you talk about movies that have the nostalgia factor put in, versus as well knowing the context behind all the stuff what's going on. Yes, it is fan based. Yes, it is this and that. But really, it's made for the fans when you have those moments built in there. And that's why for Ghostbusters Afterlife, same context. It's built in for the fans. These moments where you are aware of them and you have that. I mean, I didn't have that emotional connection to Andrew Garfield and Gwen Stacy dying. I didn't. It's like, oh, that's so sad. But seeing it in Spider-Man No Way Home and knowing what it meant to him and how that version of himself saving MJ
Mhm.
sparked a huge emotional response in me,
Yeah.
you know?
Totally.
And,
Yeah.
and that's because there was something intrinsically human about that moment. And Andrew Garfield played that moment so beautifully.
My God.
Like
And
He
it was
killed
just
it.
like, oh, it just hit all those things. And it's like, is that nostalgia? Because I honestly, when I saw the Andrew Garfield movies, I enjoyed them. And I knew Gwen Stacy was going to die. And because I knew some of the comic books and stuff like that, it didn't affect me as much. But seeing that moment, I still get verklempt about it. So what is that? What about that affects us so much as
Yeah.
moviegoers? I think that's a great conversation to have.
I think for the viewer who hasn't seen those the previous versions of it, all they know from that specific movie was that he's from another timeline and he lost somebody in that timeline. So, it's interesting given that information and you see him save MJ and his facial reaction. Does
Mhm.
that viewer get the same reaction? Maybe not. But it's still a credit to the filmmakers who are like, hey, if this is just for the fans who know this,
Mhm.
but they're still able to extract that reaction from us, that's still,
Yeah.
I think that's still doing the job.
Yeah. And for me, it's Andrew Garfield's performance in that moment right there.
100%. Yeah.
He sells that, and you know how much it means to him and how much has affected him. And and again, you go back to basic storytelling. It's the performances too that sell everything. You can take a little moment that can be glossed over and you can turn it into something that is monumentally. You look at Andrew Garfield and go, something very important, very moving happened for him. And you might not know that movie, but then it'll make you want to see that movie to go,
Mhm.
Mhm.
what happened to make you feel like that, right? So that's great. I think that's amazing. That's magic.
Yeah.
That's movie magic.
I went to go back and rewatch Amazing Spider-Man after No Way Home, noticing, like you said, the first time watching it was like, okay. But then rewatching after that scene, Andrew Garfield plays an amazing Peter Parker. He just the bad luck of having the not so great villains for a superhero blockbuster, whereas Toby had all the Spider-Man A-listers. But what's gonna sell, right? An action movie. No one's gonna go see Spider-Man for the acting, right? You want to see Spider-Man face off against the supervillain. It's like Chris Rock says, no one goes to Hooters for the wings. Like if that's not what the focus is. So that's the unfortunate thing. Like,
to be fair, the wings are very good.
Again, so was Andrew Garfield's acting. But
absolutely.
They were in the seats to see comic book heroes face off.
My issue with Andrew Garfield's portrayal of Peter Parker was he was just too cool. Peter Parker was never that cool. And that was the only thing. And I loved Andrew Garfield's performance in it. But it was just, for me, it was just like Peter Parker was always this outsider who was just, just couldn't fit in. He was just this guy that was just so socially awkward. And for me, Andrew Garfield was just like, this guy should be the most popular guy in school. The way he acted was just like, I don't see it. I don't see it. And they all were like, it just seemed so much more mature. Whereas, and I think that's why Tom Holland is one of my favorites, is because he hits that perfect balance of awkward teenage, sort of like bad choices, things that are just piling up. And this is what I like about it, because he seems more like a teenager than Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield ever were. And that's why I loved Tom Holland's version of it. And like the fact that he had friends and had like Ned Leeds played brilliantly by is it Jacob
Jacob.
He's brilliant. I love him. Like that whole Marvel Legends 2-pack, I want to get just for Ned. The Tom Holland thing is like, throw that in garbage. Ned Leeds looks
whoa, let's not get nuts.
Don't throw him in the garbage.
It doesn't look like it's not a good sculpt for Tom Holland. For Ned, he looks spot fucking on.
No, I'm just saying I'll buy it off you. You don't have to win it. Whether you like it, the sculpt.
I don't even collect Marvel Legends. I'll get it just for Ned. If they had a hot toy of just Ned, I would buy that. I'd buy 5 of those. Sorry, Anna.
5 of them.
By accident. I would buy 5. Kevin, your assignment. Yes. It's always Kevin's assignment.
Yeah, Yoko. It's me on the whole group project.
Yoko's already seen it. Yoko's ahead of the curve. You are the one in the remedial class that needs to catch up. But here is your assignment. Your homework assignment is to watch Ghostbusters Afterlife, not on your phone, in the bathroom, on a big screen. But I want you to watch it after having seen Ghostbusters. Maybe you should brush up on GB2, Ghostbusters 2 as well, just to sort of fill in those blanks. But I want you to watch Afterlife and let me know, is it a good movie in your opinion? Or is it just nostalgia? Is it just riding on nostalgia for me? Because I loved it. I thought it hit every note perfectly for me, for this franchise that I'm heavily invested in. I built a Proton Pack. I cosplay as a Ghostbuster. I love the movie. I want you to watch Afterlife.
You have 2 HasLabs ordered.
I have 2 HasLabs. Yeah, I got 2 Proton Packs coming in via HasLab. I did that on purpose, Anna. I want you to. I want to know your opinion. Is it just riding on nostalgia? Was it a good movie, or did it affect you much in the same way Spider-Man No Way Home hit us in the feels? So let me know.
I was going to suggest Gremlins 3, Son of Gremlin.
It's got to be in Spanish. Hermio de Gremlino.
Oh, I'm gonna get some messages for that one, Paul.
Well, you can cut it then. Damn it.
Hit the magic button.
Hit the magic button.
I'm gonna get all the messages for what? You just watched Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not real, people. It's entertainment. You know, it's
And it'll be a double whammy because I want to hear your thoughts on Ghostbusters. And then let's talk about Ghostbusters after that.
Let's just watch all the Ghostbusters.
Just
Okay.
talk about all of them. All right.
I'm busy. I have a lot of stuff to do next week. Not
Oh yeah, he's
doing
getting
Ghostbusters.
nuptialed.
That's not a word.
Such a crutch. Such a crutch.
Nuptialized. Okay, so we've done every movie, every genre tonight. Stuff that we didn't even plan on. Spider-Man, Batman.
Yeah.
But I think it's time to call it and
Yeah.
save some conversation for next week. If the prospects back, Ernie, Ernie. That's Yoko and Ernie.
Just like he called you yoga. Oh my
yeah,
god.
he called.
You want to wrap it up and then do the outro, or you want me to wrap it up and you do the outro?
Oh, what's the difference between wrapping it up and the outro?
Oh, okay. So the homework for next week will be Ghostbusters Afterlife and Yoko. Bring it home.
Thank you, everybody, watching, listening, whatever platform you're on. Hit that thumbs up, as our friend Ernie would say. Give us that like, give us that follow. Thank you so much. This is not even funny anymore. This is not even funny. I'm doing a good job, guys. We're all doing a great job. We're doing great. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.